What happens to a body buried in the desert? Endless sands, scorching sun, unforgiving nature. What happens when a human body is left to face this harsh environment alone? Imagine a vast expanse where the horizon shimmers with heat, and the sand seems alive, shifting with every gust of wind. The desert isn't just a landscape, it's an entire ecosystem with conditions drastically different from what we're used to. While it presents a severe challenge to the living, it becomes a unique laboratory for what happens after death. The main factors determining a body's fate in the desert are extreme heat and a critical lack of moisture. Temperatures can reach 120 degrees Fahrenheit or higher, not just on the surface, but deep within the sand, which acts like a giant oven, absorbing solar heat. Even more crucial is the near-total absence of humidity. Unlike damp forests or even ordinary soils, where microorganisms and insects thrive thanks to water, this life-giving element is almost entirely absent in the desert. Don't forget the sand itself. It's not just loose soil, its abrasive properties, ability to heat up and cool down quickly, and its shifting nature create a dynamic and aggressive environment. Solar radiation is also much more intense, impacting the body's surface, speeding up some processes and slowing down others. These conditions don't just speed up or slow down decomposition. They change its very nature, leading to entirely different, sometimes paradoxical and surprising scenarios. We're used to decay, but the desert offers alternatives. So what happens when a human body is left alone in the desert? What processes begin in the first hours and days as nature starts its relentless work? A body lies in the desert sands. What happens in the initial hours and days after life ends as nature begins its inexorable process? Initial post-mortem changes like rigor mortis, algor mortis, cooling, and livor mortis, pooling of blood, all take place with some differences here. Because of the high temperatures, the body may cool slower, while rigor mortis might onset quicker, but also pass faster due to heat-induced protein breakdown. But the most dramatic and decisive factor is dehydration. The blazing sun and dry air rapidly evaporate moisture from body tissues. This process is essentially a race against decomposition bacteria. If dehydration happens quickly enough, it can halt or slow down putrefaction, which requires moisture to function. The skin quickly dries out, becoming stiff like parchment, and soft tissues begin to shrink. Despite the extreme conditions, the desert isn't devoid of life. Insects, like carrion flies and certain beetles, will still find their prize. Their larvae will begin their work, but their activity depends heavily on the availability of moisture and shade. Unlike humid environments where insects can quickly skeletonize a body, here, their numbers and effectiveness are reduced. Microorganisms responsible for decay also face a serious problem: lack of water. Bacteria inside the body begin their work, but the external environment quickly suppresses their spread, paving the way for different, drier forms of decomposition. No one can teach you about mummification better than the desert itself. It's here, in its unforgiving embrace, that the ideal conditions are created to preserve a body for centuries. We usually think of decomposition as inevitable destruction, but the desert offers a different scenario: natural mummification. This is a process where instead of decaying, the body dries out, preserving tissues and form for years to come. Ideal conditions arise where moisture, the main enemy of preservation, is virtually absent. extreme dryness and high temperatures play a key role. In the desert, the body's internal moisture evaporates incredibly quickly. If dehydration occurs faster than the activity of putrefying bacteria, the latter are deprived of the environment necessary for life. Bacteria need water. Without it, they can't multiply and break down organic compounds. The desert acts like a giant natural dehydrator. Skin and soft tissues dry out, shrivel, and harden, forming a protective layer. Internal organs also lose moisture, decreasing in volume. It's similar to drying fruit or jerky, but on a much larger scale. Sometimes, hygroscopic sand further draws out moisture, accelerating the process. The result is a mummy, not always like the Egyptian ones treated with embalming, but preserving the contours remarkably well. Such a body can lie for thousands of years, becoming an invaluable source of information for archaeologists and anthropologists. Natural mummification in desert regions allows us to find remarkably well-preserved remains of ancient humans and animals, offering a window into the past. Imagine an ancient statue standing in the open air for millennia. Its features are worn, but the shape remains, sculpted not by human hands, but by the elements. Similarly, the desert's sand and wind become relentless sculptors, shaping the fate of remains. In the desert, not only heat and lack of moisture dictate the conditions, but constant movement does too. Sand, driven by wind, acts as a powerful natural sculptor, capable of both destroying and, paradoxically, preserving. Imagine billions of tiny abrasive particles continuously bombarding everything on the surface. This is the abrasive action of the sand. Like sandpaper, it gradually wears away at anything in its path. If a body isn't buried deep, but lies on the surface or is only lightly covered, the wind and sand begin their tireless work. First, they may remove any already dehydrated soft tissues. Then, they polish and wear down the bones, giving them smooth, unusual shapes. This is a process of erosion that slowly but surely alters the appearance of the remains. Sometimes beyond recognition. Bones can look polished, like ancient stones smoothed by time. However, the wind plays another equally important role, a protective one. Strong gusts can quickly bury a body in sand, creating a natural burial. This is crucial. A layer of sand protects the remains from direct sunlight, reduces access for scavengers and insects, and stabilizes the temperature. Under the sand, decomposition processes proceed differently, often promoting the very mummification we talked about earlier. The sand, like a blanket, covers and preserves. Thus, sand and wind in the desert are a dual, powerful factor. They can be ruthless destroyers, erasing all traces, or unexpected guardians, preserving a body for thousands of years. The outcome depends on many conditions: depth of burial, intensity of winds, and the terrain. The desert always leaves its unique signature on those who end up in its power. In the desert, where there seems to be no life, hundreds of thousands of microorganisms can live on every square meter. These invisible workers, along with surprisingly adapted scavengers, initiate key processes that can either accelerate or slow down decomposition. Even in the harshest conditions, the desert is not lifeless. Amazingly adapted creatures live here, participating in the cycle of life and death, just like in any other ecosystem. We're talking about scavengers and microorganisms whose role in the decomposition process in the desert has its own unique features. Large scavengers such as coyotes, jackals, some types of desert foxes, and of course, birds of prey like vultures have an incredible sense of smell. They can detect a food source from great distances, and a human body is definitely a resource for them. These animals can quickly remove soft tissues, contributing to the dismemberment and dispersal of remains. However, their numbers in the desert are generally lower than in more fertile regions, which can slow down their impact. As for insects, their activity in the desert is also present, but severely limited. Carrion flies and certain beetles, for example, dermestid beetles, can start their work, but their larvae require a certain level of humidity for development. Therefore, their activity is often concentrated in areas where moisture lasts longer. For example, in natural folds of the body or underneath it. Rapid dehydration of the body's surface can create a kind of barrier, preventing mass insect colonization. Finally, microorganisms, invisible but powerful engines of decomposition. Under normal conditions, bacteria and fungi are the main eaters of organic matter. But in the desert, they face a severe water shortage. This means that putrefying bacteria, which require moisture for their life activity, are severely suppressed. Those inside the body may begin the process, but the external environment quickly deactivates them. This factor, along with the activity of sand and wind, gives a chance for that natural mummification. When the desert sands close over a body, its fate is sealed. What end awaits it? Complete oblivion or incredible preservation, frozen in time? We've traced the entire transformation path that awaits a body in the desert. But what will ultimately remain when the relentless elements finish their work? The end result can be polar opposite, from complete disappearance to remarkable preservation for centuries. If a body remains on the surface without sufficient cover, it faces almost complete destruction. The abrasive action of sand, relentless wind, and scavenger activity can destroy bones, scatter fragments, and erase them beyond recognition. This is a scenario of oblivion, where nature leaves no tangible evidence, only scattered dust of the past. However, the desert is also capable of the opposite miracle, natural mummification. If a body is quickly covered by sand, providing protection from direct sun and wind, and, most importantly, if rapid dehydration occurs, putrefaction stops. Soft tissues dry out, turning into a hard, parchment-like shell, tightly enveloping the skeleton. Such mummies can lie for thousands of years, becoming invaluable time capsules, storing secrets of bygone eras. What exactly might be discovered centuries later? It could be a severely weathered skeleton, polished by sand, sometimes fragmented and scattered. Or much more surprisingly, partially or even almost completely preserved mummified remains. These finds are not just bones or dry tissues. They are an invaluable source of information for science. Thanks to them, we can study the anatomy, diseases, diet, and even the culture of ancient people who lived thousands of years ago. The desert, therefore, acts not only as a gravedigger, but also as an unpredictable, yet sometimes incredibly effective, keeper of history, revealing its secrets only to the most patient researchers. We hope this dive into the secrets of post-mortem changes in the unforgiving desert was not only informative, but also thought-provoking. If you're ready to continue uncovering the mysteries of the unknown, exploring the enigmas of nature and human existence, subscribe to the Mysteries of the Spirit channel and like this video so you don't miss our new fascinating investigations.